So many people have so many money mindset beliefs that really hold them back. Let's dive in. What are some of these lies that are limiting your income that we can let go of right now? Hey, CourtneyLSanders here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to me, I'm a full-time online life and business coach, as well as wife and mom. I wear all the hats and do all the things. And I feel like maybe I should call myself money coach, because I'm also like life coaching around the topic of money, because so many people have so many money mindset beliefs that really hold them back in business, hold them back from making the sales that they could be making, but also hold them back from living the type of life that they could be living because they have such limiting financial beliefs. And as someone who has worked with literally thousands of clients, like literally I work with hundreds of people a month just in my Nail Your Niche challenge, which by the way, if you haven't joined, you should totally join before we stop it, because it takes a lot of energy and a lot of effort to do these challenges, but they are completely free. You can learn more about it by clicking the link below, but it's a free 5-day challenge where I help you nail your niche in your business. But even though it's about nailing your niche, it always comes around this topic of money. Can people afford it, et cetera, whether it's pricing their own services or even, what they can afford to invest in their business. So I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, but let's dive in. What are some of these lies that are limiting your income that we can let go of right now? All right, the first lie that limits a lot of people's income is this idea that just because something is currently over your budget, that means it's overpriced. This one really grinds my gears. And I know there's a lot of like snarky YouTube comments, I call them drive-by, keyboard warriors who like leave a nasty comment and then take off just because they either don't see the value in something, or it's not of value to them personally, or really it's not in their personal budget. They assume that, that must means it's not worth it and it's overpriced. And this is not the case. And I say that this is a money mindset that could be limiting your income, because if you look at your present budget and you're like, oh, well, because I can't afford that, then it just must mean that it's not worth it. What you will do is when you get in business, you will start undervaluing yourself and underselling yourself because you are in your own pocket. So you have to think about the clients that you are working towards, and ask any consultant who works in corporate America, who does a lot of corporate sales. Often corporations will buy trainings or different things for multi-5 figures, for sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, even for $1 million. Now, if you don't have that in your particular budget, you might be inclined to say, oh, let me sell this to them for like $1,000 because that's something that I feel is in my budget and I can afford. But that doesn't speak to the value of what it actually is. So just because there's a house in a particular neighborhood that's over my budget, that doesn't mean it's overpriced. If there's lots of other people in the market who can't afford that house and see the value in it and they're willing to spend that much money on it, then that's the price that house is going to go for. So we really have to get in this frame of mind where it's not really about us, which is so interesting, because a lot of people, again, who leave snarky comments about sales think that, oh, sales are selfish and it's all about you and greedy, money hungry, how much money you can get. But I find that the people who are the best at sales and have the best money mindset take themselves out of the equation. And so this was really life-changing for me and really changed my business when I took myself out of the equation, what my personal budget was, what even my personal beliefs around money that I particularly grew up with, and I just objectively looked at what is the value of what I'm offering, what are the market rates, what is the ROI that someone who can work with me can get, and I started pricing at that level, right? And so when I started pricing at that level, I actually got more sales because the market was agreeing with me. I don't have time to go into depth about this right now, but I often find that people who undercharge and undervalue themselves because it's personally not in their budget and they're afraid that there's no one who's going to be willing to afford those types of prices, often will turn off clients who have a certain budget in mind and know that your price point doesn't fit it. So if I'm looking to, let's say, buy a Mercedes-Benz and I go to your dealership and you've got a brand new C-Class on the lot for $10,000, I'm leaving because I'm like, is that car stolen? Like something, the math ain't math, and something is not adding up, and I'm gonna go to a dealership, it's gonna charge the appropriate price for it. So make sure that you are not believing the lie that just because something is personally over your budget, that it is overpriced. All right, the second lie that you're probably believing that is limiting your income, and it's very related to the first lie, is this idea that nobody will pay that, right? Often the two lies go together, right? This mindset of, oh, it's over my budget, therefore it's overpriced, and because it's over my budget, no one is going to be able to afford this. Again, you want to make sure that you take yourself out the equation, and this is going to sound harsh, but again, it's true, and it's going to help you with your finances or your wealth building, your business building. understand that your financial reality is not the financial reality. We conflate the two. We think kind of that we're the center of the universe. Our financial situation is the standard, right? And anything that's outside of that standard is like crazy or not real or doesn't exist. And it's just simply not the case. Your financial reality is not the financial reality. There are people, again, who are willing to pay XYZ for whatever their reasons are. I'm personally not willing to spend, I don't know how much they cost, $500 or $600 on a pair of Air Jordan shoes. But I know that my financial reality is not the reality for everybody. There's some other people who are more than willing to pay that and, save up for it, and they wait in line, and that's totally their thing. Even again, when we think about things that are over budget and whether we can afford it or not, again, recognize that where you might be financially in your life is just your present station. And if you have any hope of not being in that station forever, again, we have to open ourselves up to the financial reality of others. And instead of pretending that it doesn't exist or, hiding ourselves because it makes us angry to think that there are people, that might be making more money than us or who might be able to afford different things, we want to ask ourselves, how did they get to a place where they can afford that? And then understand that that is a reality. A perfect example of this is actually a rental property that my mom owns. Hopefully she doesn't mind me telling this story, but she owns a rental property in a very hot market in a particular area of the country, and she's currently nearing retirement. And for a really long time, she would complain to me and my husband about how, she wants to get more from this property so that she can put it towards her retirement. And me and my husband would look at each other perplexed, like, your rental property is in one of the hottest markets in the country. You get charged a lot more than what you're currently charging for rent. Why don't you just raise the rent? I bet your current tenant would be willing to pay it because they know that they're getting like way under market rent. And for the longest, my mom would not raise the rent because she had this limiting belief in her mind that no one is going to be able to afford this. She was like, who would spend this much on rent? You could get a mortgage. I would never spend this much on rent. I would just take out a mortgage and just own the home. She just couldn't rationalize it in her mind, and so she kept the rent low. And it wasn't until one day we were having a conversation where I was like, Mom, there are so many companies that are relocating to your city. Do you understand that, one, there are people who are making crazy salaries, right? So in the city where her rental property is, there's a lot of tech, there's a lot of healthcare. I'm like, what about the anesthesiologist who literally makes like $800,000 a year, who doesn't want to buy right now, who just wants to get, situated in the area, maybe wants to rent for 2 years before they look to buy a house? They're willing to pay that. What about the executive from Google or something who is relocating to town and his company is fronting part of the bill for his relocation expense, and it's actually not him but Google that is paying that rent? What about them? And so when I said this to her, it was like all the light bulbs went on, and she was like, oh my goodness. She didn't say this, but essentially it was this concept of like, wow, my financial reality is not the financial reality, right? I'm just one particular, financial situation, but there's lots of different people with lots of different financial situations, and I can't base what I'm selling or what I'm offering based on my reality. I have to base it on the reality of the person that I am trying to appeal to and that I am trying to sell to. So the two, limiting beliefs and lies really go hand in hand. But again, just because something is over your budget doesn't mean it's overpriced, and we really have to get out of this idea that no one can afford it. Your financial reality is not the financial reality. All right, the next limiting belief and lie that a lot of people, believe, that I know it's gonna rub some people the wrong way, so I'm ready for it, it's fine. But after years of coaching and working with people, I have seen this played out, not just in my own arena in coaching, but pretty much in any market. It doesn't matter if it's a physical product or what have you. And that is this lie that charging somebody less is kinder, right? That cheaper is nicer. I deal with this a lot with women, especially women entrepreneurs who feel bad, right? They're like, oh, I know that what I'm offering is at a high level of value, but I feel bad for my customer. I feel bad for my target market. So I want to charge them less because I want to be nicer, because I want to be kinder, right? Often women, we have to work through this kind of like wanting to be liked, people-pleasing thing. You don't realize that when you do that, especially when the value is up here and you're deliberately charging here because you feel bad and you want to be nice, oftentimes you are going to make that person get a worse result, right? There's a Bible verse that says, where your treasure is, your heart is there also. Oftentimes, if you don't force people to put skin in the game, they will not take what is going on seriously. Ask any banker who, works with small business owners who are looking for a bank loan. And, many small business owners will march in there and they'll have a beautiful business plan and they'll talk about all these amazing things that they want to do in this business and how it's going to blow up and it's going to make the bank so much money and you should totally give me the loan in order to invest in this business. one of the first things that the bank is going to look at is how much have you invested, right? How much skin do you have in the game? And if the answer is zero, depending on the business model and depending on the person, you might have difficulty getting a loan, because when we pay attention. I cannot tell you how many clients who I have worked with, who I have helped raise their prices, and inevitably they're like, not only am I getting more clients now that I have raised my prices, which is like, kind of crazy, but I am getting better clients, and I am getting clients that take what I have to offer more seriously simply by raising the price. Why? Again, because there's skin in the game. When people pay, they pay attention. If you don't believe me, look at how someone takes care of, say, a bag that they get at Zara. No shade for handbags bought at Zara, but maybe it was on sale. Oh, I got this for $30, whatever. They're dropping it everywhere. They're scuffs, it doesn't matter. Versus someone who buys a $5,000 handbag from some high-end store, Dior, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, something like that. They, have little covers that go over it, and they're wiping the bottom, and they're keeping the box, and they're putting it up high on their shelf. They are treasuring that because of how much it costs them in order to obtain it. And so you want to think about this with your own products and services, particularly if you're offering coaching or anything where it requires the person to take action. If you are underselling yourself, you are going to attract a lot of clients who don't do the work, and in turn don't get the results, and then you don't get the testimonials, and it becomes this death spiral where you're not able to really market and sell your programs because people are like, well, does it work? Because she doesn't have any testimonials. But you're not getting testimonials because people don't have skin in the game, and they don't have skin in the game because you're not charging enough. So we have to get out of this lie and out of this limiting belief that, charging less is always nicer or always kinder. That's not always the case. All right, I have more where that came from, but first I want to hear from you. What limiting belief are you working through in your money mindset? Share in the comments below. Okay, the next lie that people believe that really limits their income, and this is a big one, is this idea that just because you are new in a space, you need to charge the lowest. Nothing could be further from the truth. Again, you want to charge in proportion to the value that you are offering for your products and service. And I think a great example of this is actually Tesla, right? So we all know Tesla, we all know Tesla cars. Well, when they came into the market, they were brand new. And they came in at the high end of the market. They could have come in and said, oh, nobody knows who we are. And even though we offer a lot of value, and I say this as a Tesla owner, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be difficult to go to a different car, because I'm like, wow, Teslas are very technologically advanced, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm like, why don't all cars offer this? But Tesla in part was able to offer a lot of value precisely because they decided to charge more when they came into the market. But I see so many new entrepreneurs make this mistake that just because they're new in business, that they need to be charging rock bottom prices, and nothing could be further from the truth. You might be new in business, but you're not new to your technique. You're not new to getting results. I'm sure you've helped dozens and dozens of people, maybe friends, maybe personal family members, even if you haven't gotten clients. You have results under your belt, you can charge for that. So you want to look at what is the ROI ultimately that you can provide someone and charge at that level. Just because you're new doesn't mean that you need to charge the lowest. In fact, if you are new and you're focusing on building your business, you actually need to charge more, which leads me to the fifth lie that a lot of people believe, and that is, I need to sell high volume in order to make a lot of money. Again, nothing could be further from the truth. I see so many people who want to make $1 million selling $10 ebooks, not realizing that you're gonna have to sell 100,000 $10 ebooks over the course of a year in order to make $1 million. I don't care what your price point is, selling 100,000 units of anything is a lot. You simply do not have the manpower, you don't have the marketing budget to sell such high volume when you are first getting started. And so this goes hand in hand with the previous limiting belief that just because you're new, you should charge lower. But I actually find that when you are new, you should actually charge more because you can't afford to charge cheaper prices. Here's the crazy thing. I know we are all marketed to from a mass market perspective. There's big companies, Amazon, Walmart, Target, whatever, mass market retail you want to think of. And you're like, well, they sell high volume and they sell things at low prices. The reason that they're able to do that is because they can afford to. And they can afford to because they have big investors, they have billion-dollar market caps, or they're publicly traded companies. They have the financial wherewithal to be able to sustain the type of marketing budget and exposure necessary in order to sell at high volume and to sell a lot of units. You as a brand new entrepreneur do not have that. And the crazy thing that a lot of entrepreneurs don't realize is that it takes just as much time to sell something low ticket as it does to sell high ticket. Whether you're making 10 sales of of a $10 ebook or 10 sales of a $1,000 coaching program, it really takes the same amount of energy. And so since you have limited resources to get started, it actually makes more sense for you to sell at the higher end of the market, build your business, get some cash coming in the door, and then from there you can start to go wider and offer different products at various price points, perhaps even lower price points, as you have the financial wherewithal to do so. But when you are first getting started, I always say you gotta follow the Michelle Obama School of Pricing, which is when they go low, you need to go high. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want even more training on how to break through a lot of these limiting money beliefs, I invite you to check out this training that I did not too long ago called My Financial Freedom Formula. This really breaks down the mindset that you need to have in order to achieve financial freedom in your personal life and in your business. And so if you're interested in getting access to that, you can click the link below to download it now. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. If you loved it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you can't wait for my next video, make sure you're subscribed to my podcast, The Courtney Sanders Show, on both iTunes and Spotify. And if you can't wait for my next podcast episode or my next YouTube video, make sure you're following me on Instagram. It's CourtneyLSanders on Instagram. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.